Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be exploring the connection between emotional intelligence and mental health.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, during times when stress threatens to kind of take over.
Right.
We've got some great research lined up, as always, and even some personal stories, I think, we've packed today. So let's just jump right in.
Yeah, I think you'll be surprised by how intertwined those two concepts really are. Almost like if you can imagine having this, like a built-in shield or something to protect yourself from mental health challenges, that's what emotional intelligence can really offer.
A shield, huh?
Yeah.
That sounds pretty powerful. I mean, can you give us a little more on that?
Yeah.
Like, what are the core benefits we're talking about here when we talk about emotional intelligence that actually protects our mental well-being?
Well, one major benefit is just the ability to spot emotions early on. Almost like you've got this internal radar system going on.
Right.
So let's say, you start feeling stressed, right? Instead of letting it kind of build up, until you're at a breaking point.
Right.
Emotional intelligence helps you recognize those early warning signs.
Okay.
Like maybe your shoulders are starting to get tense, or you notice a change in your breathing.
Yeah.
That awareness is really crucial.
It's like noticing those subtle signs of a storm brewing before it turns into like a full-blown hurricane, Gives you a little time to prepare.
Exactly. And not only can you kind of, detect those emotional shifts sooner, but emotional intelligence equips you with this toolbox of healthy coping mechanisms.
Okay.
It's not about just suppressing emotions or anything like that.
Right.
It's about having a variety of different strategies you can use to manage them effectively.
So instead of resorting to the same old unhelpful reactions or whatever, you've got a whole, arsenal of options.
That's it.
So what kind of strategies are we talking about here?
Well, there's a wide range of strategies, and we'll definitely get into the specifics a little bit later on.
Okay.
But just to give you an example, one study by the American Psychological Association actually found that people with higher emotional intelligence were significantly better at managing stress.
Okay.
And they did that through things like reframing negative thoughts and seeking social support. And they were much less likely to experience burnout or turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms as well.
So it's not just about having a stiff upper lip and ignoring your feelings.
No, not at all.
It's about actually learning how to navigate them in a way that supports your well-being.
Absolutely. And, the benefits really go beyond just managing stress, too.
Okay.
Emotionally intelligent individuals, they tend to build stronger connections with others. They're more empathetic, they're better communicators, and they're really skilled at navigating conflict constructively.
Right.
And this leads to, more fulfilling relationships, a greater sense of belonging, and a stronger support system, all of which contribute to overall mental health.
I mean, feeling connected to others is such a fundamental human need.
Yeah, it is.
And it sounds like emotional intelligence plays a key role
in
fostering those connections.
It absolutely does. Now, let's kind of flip the script for a moment and consider some of the common struggles people face when their emotional intelligence might need a bit of a boost.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
What are some of the red flags that someone might be having trouble in this area?
Well, one common struggle is just the difficulty in, naming emotions.
Okay.
Someone might feel off or uneasy, but they can't quite pinpoint what they're experiencing. They might say things like, I just feel blah, or I don't know what's wrong with me, I just feel weird.
Right.
And this lack of emotional awareness can be incredibly frustrating and make it really difficult to address the underlying issue.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle, but you don't know what the pieces are.
Exactly. Another challenge is that tendency to bottle up emotions.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of acknowledging and processing feelings, they just get pushed down and ignored. But those suppressed emotions don't just disappear.
Right.
They often resurface in unhealthy ways.
Of course.
Like through anxiety, irritability, or even physical symptoms sometimes.
We all know that ignoring our feelings doesn't make them go away, right?
It does not.
It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It's going to pop up somewhere else.
That's a great analogy. And finally, there's the tendency to react impulsively to emotions.
Right.
And this can lead to a cycle of reactivity where small triggers escalate into, major conflicts or outbursts. So, for example, imagine someone getting cut off in traffic and immediately laying on the horn and yelling obscenities.
Right.
That's a classic example of emotional reactivity.
It sounds like they're letting their emotions drive the car rather than taking a moment to pause and choose a more skillful response.
Exactly. Developing that ability to pause before reacting, to take a breath and assess the situation.
Yeah.
That is a game changer for emotional well-being.
So we've established that emotional intelligence can act as a shield against mental health challenges.
Yes.
But it's also clear that it's not always easy to develop those skills.
That's right. It's definitely a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
And just like any skill, it takes practice and dedication.
Of course.
But the good news is that even small improvements in emotional intelligence can have a profound impact on our lives.
I mean, that's encouraging to hear.
It is.
I'm already kind of starting to think about how I can apply these concepts in my own life.
That's fantastic. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve into some very specific strategies that you can use to cultivate greater emotional intelligence and build that lasting emotional resilience we've been talking about.
Okay, I can't wait. I'm ready to start building that shield.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more insights after a short break. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We're continuing our exploration of emotional intelligence and all the ways it can be a powerful tool for really building stronger mental well-being.
And now that we've laid that foundation, I'm really excited to dive into some of that practical stuff.
Okay.
What are some tangible strategies that we can start using today to boost our emotional intelligence and create that sense of resilience that we've been talking about?
That's a great question, and there's a lot we can do.
Okay.
One of the most powerful strategies is something called emotional granularity.
Emotional granularity?
Yeah, it basically involves moving beyond just labeling emotions as good or bad.
Right.
And developing a richer vocabulary for actually describing the nuances of your emotional experience.
So instead of just saying oh, I'm feeling stressed,
right,
I might say something like I'm feeling overwhelmed and a bit anxious about this upcoming deadline.
Exactly. By being more specific, you actually gain a deeper understanding of what's driving your emotion. You start to see these connections between your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Yeah.
And that awareness, it gives you more control.
It's almost like having a high-definition emotional map,
Right.
Instead of just a blurry outline.
Yeah.
You can navigate your inner world with much more precision.
I love that analogy. Now let's talk about another crucial strategy.
Okay.
Reframing.
Reframing.
This basically involves consciously shifting your perspective on stressful situations. So instead of dwelling on that worst case scenario, you challenge those negative thoughts and you look for more balanced or even positive interpretations.
So instead of thinking, I'm going to completely bomb this presentation and everyone's going to think I'm incompetent, I might reframe it and think, this is an opportunity to share my ideas and connect with the audience.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't go perfectly, it's a chance for me to learn and grow from this.
Precisely. You're not denying the challenges, Yeah. It's just about choosing a more empowering perspective that allows you to take action rather than feeling paralyzed by fear.
Reframing almost feels like taking back the steering wheel from your emotions. It gives you that agency and helps you kind of navigate those bumps in the road with more confidence.
And the more you practice reframing, the more automatic it becomes.
Okay.
And you start to develop a more optimistic and resilient mindset.
So we've got emotional granularity and reframing.
Yes.
Two incredibly valuable tools. What else can we add to our emotional intelligence toolkit?
Let's talk about the power of active listening.
Active listening.
This is more than just hearing the words that someone is saying.
Right.
It's about truly understanding their perspective, even if you don't necessarily agree with it.
So it's about putting aside my own biases and judgments and making a genuine effort to actually connect with the other person's experience.
Exactly. Active listening involves paying attention to their body language, their tone of voice, and the emotions behind their words. You might even reflect back on what you're hearing to make sure you're understanding them correctly.
I've noticed that when I really focus on listening to someone, I learn so much more than I would if I were just waiting for my turn to speak.
Absolutely.
It deepens the connection and it builds trust.
And speaking of connection, let's not forget about the importance of cultivating strong social support systems.
Yeah.
Having people we can confide in who offer encouragement and understanding that is so essential for navigating all of life's ups and downs.
I mean, those are the people who help us weather those storms.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
They remind us we're not alone in our struggles.
Right. And they provide that safe space to actually process your emotions and gain perspective. Sometimes just talking things out with someone we trust can make a world of difference.
It's like having a team of emotional cheerleaders,
Yeah.
on the sidelines rooting for you and offering support when you need it most.
I love that imagery. And those support systems, they can include friends, family members, mentors, therapists.
Yeah.
Anyone who brings a sense of safety and connection into your life.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
We've got emotional granularity, reframing active listening.
Yes.
Building strong support systems.
That's right.
It's like our emotional intelligence muscles are getting a serious workout.
They are. And just like physical exercise, building emotional intelligence takes that consistent effort.
Right.
It's not like a one-time fix, it's an ongoing, a lifelong journey of growth and self-discovery.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see how all of these strategies fit together.
Yeah.
They're not just isolated techniques, they're interconnected pieces of a larger puzzle.
That's a great observation. It's about weaving these practices into the fabric of our daily lives so they become second nature.
And what's really exciting is that even those small steps can make a big difference.
They can.
We don't have to become emotional intelligence gurus overnight.
No.
We can start with one strategy and kind of build from there.
Exactly. And the more we practice, the more natural it becomes. And the more we benefit from the rewards of greater emotional intelligence, which include not only stronger mental well-being, but also more fulfilling relationships, increased self-awareness, and a greater sense of purpose and meaning in our lives.
I love how you've highlighted the ripple effect of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
It's not just about feeling better. It's about living better.
Absolutely. It really does permeate all aspects of our lives.
Okay, so we've covered some powerful strategies for cultivating emotional intelligence. But how do we make these practices sustainable? You know, how do we move beyond just knowing these concepts and actually integrate them into our busy, day-to-day routines?
That's a fantastic question, and it's one we'll be exploring in depth in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll delve into the power of mindfulness, the importance of self-care, and some practical tips for actually turning these strategies into habits that stick.
I can't wait to hear more. I'm feeling so inspired to continue this journey of emotional exploration.
Me too. We'll be right back after a short break to wrap up our deep dive and leave you with some final thoughts and takeaways.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been on quite a journey exploring the ins and outs of emotional intelligence and how it can transform so many aspects of our lives, like our mental well-being, our relationships, even our sense of purpose.
It's been pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
And, as we wrap up this deep dive, I kind of want to shift our focus to the practical side of things.
Okay.
We've talked about all these amazing strategies, but how do we actually integrate them into our, already super busy lives?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
It is.
It's one thing to understand these concepts, but it's another to put them into practice consistently.
Exactly. And that's where mindfulness comes in.
Okay.
Mindfulness is all about, paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It's about noticing your thoughts, feelings, and sensations as they come up without getting swept away by them.
So instead of dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, mindfulness helps us ground ourselves in the here and now.
Precisely. And the beauty of mindfulness is that you can practice it anywhere, anytime.
Okay.
You can bring mindfulness to everyday activities, like eating, walking, or even washing the dishes.
I've heard so much about the benefits of mindfulness.
Yeah.
But I'll admit I've struggled to actually make it a regular practice in my own life.
I hear that.
Do you have any tips for actually incorporating mindfulness into our daily routine?
Absolutely. One really simple but powerful practice is to just set aside a few minutes each day for some dedicated mindfulness meditation.
Right.
Just find a quiet spot, sit comfortably, and focus on your breath. Just notice the rise and fall of your chest, the sensation of the air entering and leaving your nostrils.
It sounds so simple.
It is.
Yet I imagine it can be pretty challenging to quiet the mind and just stay present.
It definitely takes practice, and it's completely natural for your mind to wander,
Right.
And when you notice your thoughts drifting, just gently guide your attention back to your breath.
Okay.
There are also tons of guided meditation apps and resources available that can be incredibly helpful too.
So we've got mindfulness as a foundation for integrating these emotional intelligence practices.
Yes.
What else can we do to kind of support this journey?
Self-care is crucial. When we're feeling depleted, stressed, overwhelmed,
Right.
it's so much harder to actually access our emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Self-care is all about prioritizing those activities that nourish our physical, emotional, and mental well-being.
It's like putting on your own oxygen mask first
Right.
before assisting others.
Right.
We need to fill our own cup in order to show up fully in our lives.
Exactly. And self-care, it looks different for everyone.
Mhm.
Could be taking a hot bath, spending time in nature, reading a good book,
Yeah.
listening to music, connecting with loved ones.
So it's about tuning into what truly replenishes us and making it a non-negotiable part of our routine.
Yes. And here's another key point. Don't be afraid to seek support when you need it. Talking to a therapist, counselor, or even just a trusted friend can provide so much guidance and perspective, especially during those tough times.
It's a sign of strength, not weakness, to reach out for help when we're struggling.
Absolutely. We really don't have to go through this alone.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with a sense of empowerment and possibility.
For sure.
Emotional intelligence, it's not some fixed trait.
Right.
It's a skill set that we can all cultivate and strengthen over time.
And the more we practice, the more we benefit.
Yeah, greater emotional intelligence leads to stronger mental well-being,
Absolutely.
more fulfilling relationships, a deeper sense of purpose and meaning in our lives.
It's like unlocking our full potential as human beings.
Beautifully said.
And remember, even those small steps can lead to big changes.
So keep practicing, keep exploring, keep diving deep into that fascinating world of emotional intelligence.
I love that.
Until next time,
Yeah.
take care of yourselves and each other.